the same time, we would rise up towards Godhood through this spirally system, this Tower of Babel, which became known as the Tower of Confusion. That got up God's nose because it was in contradiction to what he was doing, what he was planning. And he said, cluck. And from that point on, there were only the religion or only the languages available as what God had said. From that moment on, a person working with another colleague, all of a sudden they could no longer converse. And thousands of years, this has confounded all Satan-driven or satanic or Luciferian doctrines. This must have really upset Satan. And he swore from that moment on, we will no longer be using speech to communicate. We will now use symbols. We will use hand signals. You'll see it in the badges we wear. You'll see it in the symbols of our companies, which I'll go into the lecture, The Battle for the Mind. So according to Masonry, the Tower of Babel represented the first Masonic enterprise. And you just have to look at various of these images of the Tower of Babel to realize that it's commonly understood that it was a type of spiral or a pyramid-shaped entity, this Tower of Babel. Let's go for a moment into an Islamic country and have a look what we see there. Here is an image from a spiral in Lebanon. And on top of that spiral is Mary. If I go to this image, this is an image from South Africa. Next to the highway as you're driving in Johannesburg and you reach possibly the most important intersection in all of South Africa. Hundreds of thousands of cars passing by there every day. You see on your left, as you're traveling north, a big spiral, and on top of the spiral, Mary. This is both in Christian countries and in Muslim countries a representation of the completion of the spiral, the fulfillment or the God of that spiral system. This image shows Scott Hahn with a dot in the circle, again pointing towards this phallic symbol of sex worship. He says, "Hail, Holy Queen." This is the queening of Mary, and the queen again having the dot in the circle. There are a couple of other people that we have to look at, besides Albert Pike himself. If you want to understand who is also running along with these ideologies of Lucifer being the true God, we must look right at the top of these systems. And at the top you get Helena Petrovna Blavatsky. You get Alice A. Bailey. She founded the publishing company called Lucifer Trust. She got a bit of heat about it, so she changed it to Lucis Publishing House or Lucis Trust. And that is the publishing house that now today publishes all the United Nations documents. Lucifer Publishing? We'll look into that a bit later. Helena Petrovna Blavatsky, she says, mankind causes the daily and hourly fall of the sin of the Celestial Virgin, which thus becoming the mother of gods and devils at one and the same time, for she is the ever-loving beneficent deity to all those who stir her soul and heart. But in antiquity and reality, Lucifer is the name of the angelic entity presiding over the light of the truth as over the light of the day. So who's Mary, according to Helena Petrovna Blavatsky, the founder of the Theosophical Society? Who is Mary? Well, she says it's the male-female God. It's Mary in the form of the Celestial Virgin, the mother of gods, who actually, in actual fact, is Lucifer, the name of the angelic entity presiding over light. She also says in her book, Secret Doctrines, on page 513, Lucifer is the divine and terrestrial light, the Holy Ghost and Satan at one at the same time. He can be the good guy and the bad guy. He can be the male, he can be the female. He can be the right eye, he can be the left eye. It's all the same thing, just in a different form. And here in an Islamic country, you've got Mary on top of the spiral. How does that work? Well, you see, in Egypt, if you go back into Egyptian times, Helena Petrovna Blavatsky explains that in her book Isis Unveiled, that the Egyptian litany, or the goddess of the Egyptian religions at the time, was a lady known by the name Holy Isis. She was known as the Universal Mother, the Mother of Gods. She was also known as the Queen of Heaven, or the Virgin Mother. Does that sound familiar? The Virgin Mother, Queen of Heaven? Well, Isis from ancient Egypt, according to Helena Petrovna Blavatsky, who was right up there with Albert Pike, she says it's the same thing. What you are worshipping as a Catholic is the same in the form of Mother Mary, is the same as what we were worshipping as Holy Isis in ancient pagan days. This is the Virgin Mother, the Queen of Heaven. In Catholicism today, she's known as the Mother of Gods, the Holy Mary, Virgin of Virgins, Queen of Heaven. It's one and the same thing. It's just a different way of marketing this lie. We see images of the Holy Ghost descending upon Mary, or Jesus putting the crown of thorns onto Mary, and Mary the one with the holes in her hands. Helena Petrovna Blavatsky says in Isis Unveiled on page 41 that Cyril, the Bishop of Alexandria, and I must just explain what Alexandria is. This is the seat of paganism. This is like the main library, the place where they had all the doctrines of paganism and what we now would identify as Luciferian worship. This is the place that they had the seat of this the doctrines of that time. Alexandria. Cyril, who was the Bishop of Alexandria, in other words, the Pope of that area at the time, if you like, he openly embraced the cause of Isis, who was the Egyptian goddess, and had anthropomorphized her into Mary, the Mother of God, and the Trinitarian controversy had taken place. So, the Bishop of Alexandria anthropomorphized, he made human Isis, who became Mary. So today when people are bowing down and lighting candles to Mary in Roman Catholicism, they don't know that they are part of an outsider, an exoteric teaching, which actually on the insider esoteric teaching is Johannism, which is based in Luciferianism, which is only known by the insider adepts. And those millions of people that are paying their way by having saved their whole lives to get to Mecca, they're involved in sun worship. This image from Islam or from an Islamic country says, Queen of Rome, Queen of Islam, Queen of all. The Marian apparitions plan to unite all religions under the Roman Catholic Church. This is common knowledge at the top, but it's not common knowledge at the bottom. 1 John 2 verse 22 says, who is a liar but he that denieth that Jesus is the Christ? He is Antichrist that denieth the Father and the Son. This is a statement in the Bible saying, who doesn't believe that Jesus died for you, that doesn't believe that Jesus is the Son of God, he has the Spirit, or he is Antichrist. Let's look into the Quran for a moment and see there that it says, Christ was altogether saved from the indignity of the cross. It says in verse 157, but they killed him not, nor crucified him, but it was made to appear to them for surety they killed him not. Let's have a look at another quote. God is indignant if Christ is believed to be God himself. Christ is not even the Son of God. The Quran removes Jesus Christ from being Jesus Christ. He removes Jesus Christ from being the one that is your only way of getting to heaven. And yet, as you can see in this image, the Pope kisses the Quran. You see, this is how you start to identify the finger in the pie. This is the moment when you can realize that something's going on here. Why would, if the Quran says that, why would the papacy accept, acknowledge, and kiss the Quran as if it is the holy book? If it's not by understanding that the God that they are worshipping, Mary, is the same as the God that they are worshipping in Islam is the same God, Lucifer being the male type of Mary being the female type, that's the only way that the two come together. That the papacy who worships supposedly Jesus Christ and Mary is able to acknowledge the Quran. That's the only place that they can come together. This letter is written by Pope John Paul, and he addressed it to my beloved Muslim brothers and sisters. He calls them part of his family. It says, I close my greeting to you with the words, we believe in and confess one God, admittedly in a different way, and daily praise and venerate him, the creator of the world and the ruler of this world. Who's the ruler of this world? Well, it's certainly not Jesus Christ. the prince of darkness, the ruler of this world, according to various things. You just look around you, and who's in control at the moment? Well, I disagree with the Pope when he says we believe and confess one God. We